encouraged, cultivated, where innovation and creativity is translated into really great products, and I know that some people will be like, oh yeah, the tech hub is such a bit opaque. What does it mean? And how do these hubs positively impact a community? I know for sure that for the Africa region, tech hubs are space startup companies come together, become part of the economic infrastructure of the community. And yes, it may not happen overnight, but the success of a tech hub can at least partly be measured by the number of products that have been monetized or taken to market because of its existence. And we know that AfriLabs has nurtured several of these and that they have developed really great solutions. So so all the tech hubs that are your members are a really great place where things happen fast, where ideation and product development can be streamlined. It's like gathering everyone needed to bring an idea. And so that's the point, working with AfriLabs as the aggregator of all of these hubs to come up and identify real life problems that are plaguing the continent and develop real life solutions developed by Africans for Africans, not by other people. Thank you.
Absolutely, by Africans for Africans. So yes, let's get into the roundtables, and we had about 4 of them.
Yes.
We really were going in to understand the different ecosystems, the regional ecosystems. We wanted to hear from innovators what they were building, what people they knew were building, but also we wanted to understand what would be Mozilla's place as far as they were concerned in helping build resilient innovation. And so we had the regional tables. In East Africa, I'll tell you what stood out for me the most was just the consolidation. And so they spoke about the Tanzania Startup Association. They spoke about Startup Uganda. They spoke about the Association of Startup and SME Enablers. And so it felt, at least for the people within that round table, that were focused on how do we consolidate and amplify our voice, collectively. In Central Africa, I remember it was mostly around innovation policy and wanting to engage with government and also funding. In Western Africa, it was about trade, women in tech, data. In Southern Africa, it was about tech talent. How do we nurture it? How do we mentor them? How do we, where do we find them? And then it was also about connectivity. So there were many issues that came up. There was connectivity, there was data, there was policy, there was funding. What's Mozilla doing in these spaces right now, if anything?
We're doing a lot around policy, for example, and a lot around product. And then, of course, working with you to identify these great, ideas and to find solutions for them. But at the moment, I don't know how many of you have seen this huge announcement. One of the things I wanted to reemphasize is I really truly believe Mozilla cannot go into the continent alone. We need partners, and we need partners who are able to identify, this problem, work with entrepreneurs. And I'm talking about entrepreneurs, micro, small to medium, the Jua Kali in people, in Kenya to Zambia. And so, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that we also need to do a bit of policy on one end to ensure that there's that conducive environment that our entrepreneurs can be successful. And so one of the projects that we are looking at is a partnership with the Africa Telecommunication Union, focusing on connectivity. It's unfortunate that it has taken a global COVID pandemic to bring home the point that the internet is a global resource and must be open and accessible to all. We've connected half the world, but the existing policy and regulatory and financial and technical models are not fit for purpose to connect the poorer and most sparsely populated areas in the continent. And there are many factors that contribute to this, but one of the biggest challenges is making wireless available to low-cost operators, the entrepreneurs who would like to get into this space, but I am not, because the wireless licenses are prohibitive. And so the way that regulatory authorities go about it, due to the really high demand, which has increased beyond its availability, is increasingly turning to auctions. Auctions meaning, they're sold to the highest bidder. And you all know that small entrepreneurs, like those of you who are members of the various hubs, cannot really, really compete with those big mobile network operators, the Safaricom's, the MTNs of this world. And even when the MTNs and Safaricom's are given those spectrum licenses, they don't really cover well in areas that really need it. And especially now, as we are struggling with COVID. And so we're working with the ATU to facilitate dialogue among regulators and policymakers to explore ways to really unlock the potential for unused spectrum, so that though our new spectrum is not taken through the same process, such that any entrepreneur that is willing to go and engage and invest in providing connectivity in sparsely populated regions is able to access this unused spectrum, especially in really rural areas, and not just accessing spectrum, providing a way that can maintain their sustainability for maybe community networks or community cooperatives. So that's one area. And then, because of the Africa Free Trade Agreement that was signed last year, we know that there's going to be a lot of, data moving from one country to another. And so we've seen a lot of African governments begin to really work hard towards developing data protection legislation, but not just because of that, but also because Europe has the GDPR, and many of our companies have to make sure that we are compliant with the GDPR. So, so that and the GDPR. So there's a wave of data legislation, but Mozilla and Omedia Network, because this is a joint effort, Omedia Network and Mozilla, we truly believe that legislation is only as good as its enforcement. And you can have as many legislation as possible and as many data protection authorities as the continent, but if they're not enforced, they're not empowered, they're not strengthened, they don't have independence, they're not really going to be enforcing privacy and data, and that means we are not going to be protecting your really personal data. So what we're doing with together the African Union Commission, Omedia Network, and Mozilla is to support the current nascent Data Protection Authorities network for Africa. It's called the RAPDP. They currently have 20 members, but they're not completely legal. So you can't provide them with, say, funding because they haven't really created those official technical structures. And so we are supporting them so that they can harmonize policy, they can create a strategic plan, they can have a capacity building plan where they can help other DPAs that come up, So those are the two main projects at the moment. But then also working with you is also more about acknowledging that not all great innovations involve shiny new tech, and I can talk about that later.
Yeah, and I don't go too much into it because it has already been raised by, on previous panels, previous speakers. Rebecca spoke about it. But a lot of the work that AfriLabs is doing right now with our capacity building program and Catalyst is really focused on supporting entrepreneurs to be more ready for the kind of infrastructure that's been put in place, but also helping them to see those opportunities like what you're talking about, ways in which entrepreneurs can work with you guys to increase opportunities for themselves and for other people. So part of the conversations that we had during the roundtables was we were talking to the actual entrepreneurs, right? And there were great innovations that they shared that they were working on, that other innovators were working on. We had a lot of great things happening within the health space, education, what else was there, agriculture. And so it was a great conversation around how they could be supported, but also what tech corporates or organizations like AfriLabs have done that we should stop doing. Now, having listened to those conversations during the round table, how do you think Mozilla is going to intervene moving forward? What do you feel that you're interested in now?
Right now, to begin with, we want to learn. We know that we don't know. And that's a very important place to be, because then you're open, you're open and you have the humility to say, hey, we really don't know what the best solutions would be. And so we want to hear from you. Right. So that's the first thing. And that's what, the discussions were about. But also, what I would like to really pass through is most often when we're talking about innovation, it's always people tend to think it must be involved new shiny technology. For example, driving cars and self-driving cars or AI. But I'll give you a story by what I mean by this. Do you remember when cell phone services were rolled out in developed markets before they came to our region? The business model that was developed, for example, in the United States was predominantly postpaid, right?
Yep.
When many of these companies thought about the African market, they underestimated the potential of the opportunity because they wanted to use the same tried and tested business model that was working in the United States to sell cell phones on credit using postpaid. Yeah, and it was not going to work. That model was not even appropriate because very few of us had credit histories or even incomes to take on a monthly commitment of a contract, the kind of contracts then when mobile phones were being introduced. What was needed was not so much technological innovation. It was a really subtle model innovation. It was just changing from postpaid to prepaid. And guess what? Today, only 4% of African mobile subscribers are on postpaid, while in North America, they're 75%. So what was once an underestimated opportunity is one of the most profitable sector. In fact, MNO, mobile network operators, are the largest companies by revenue in the continent, excluding oil companies, So the interesting thing here that I want for us to think about how we are going to work together with the entrepreneurs in terms of the Mozilla, contribution, is that it doesn't have to be new technology. Like, interestingly, this mobile network one, that technology existed. All was needed was a small tweak in the business approach and in the business innovation. So rather than finding, it was more about new technology, not so much about new technology, it was rather finding an appropriate business model to deliver that service. So what I would like to say to you is, to entrepreneurs right now listening, is have a look at existing solutions. We have great ones like Mozilla's Android browser, that we've just launched. How can it work in the Africa region? It's faster than previous versions and more responsive. It's got a privacy muscle that Mozilla is really well known because of its enhanced tracking protection. Tab collections let you organize and to set tabs into a named group. It's actually quite a great, and also it uses our own browser engine, in contrast to third-party browsers like Brave and Samsung Internet. So, so a good one. And then we've got another, so this is great for especially a continent like ours where people predominantly get on the internet using their mobile phones. Mm-hmm. So being able to choose a browser that is also at the same time ethical and going to be protecting people's privacy and not stealing from them. And Absolutely. Then we have another, product called Pocket, which essentially is great for education. It's not come to the Africa region yet. And this is what I'm saying. It's having those really creative entrepreneurs looking at it and going, oh my goodness, that could work so well in South Africa, in Nairobi, in Kigali, in Lagos. So the thing, it's called Pocket, which previously literally means read it later. It's an app and web service for managing a reading list of articles and videos from the internet. So it lets you save web pages and videos in a pocket in just one click. What it does, it strips away all the clutter, which saves on storage space for users. And users can also control how much memory to allow Pocket to use. It can also be configured to allow to download articles over Wi-Fi, especially helpful for users with low literacy levels, so that, for those wanting to learn how to read and for those who don't have that Wi-Fi at home. And it also saves the page in a really clean, distraction-free view, letting you access them on the go. So all one needs is a free account, an internet connection, and a Pocket button. So, while it's not currently designed for users with limited connectivity, we would be more than happy to explore partnerships to better optimize it for the users in the Africa region. And really, the ability to save articles and videos to read later can be really transformative. And given how much most of us share on WhatsApp, especially share articles on WhatsApp, it will be interesting if one of you, could actually see how we can save an article from WhatsApp to Pocket, because that's not currently possible. So what I'm saying with this is that even for Mozilla, look at our products and think about the fact that you could use our products to maximize on something or a service that you're trying to deliver.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Alice.
Jen.
This has been, yes, this is Anna. Well, we're a happy family over here at the AfriLabs Secretariat. So just to jump in, it's been such an exciting session so far. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Nekesa. Dr. Vera is right now waiting. We are 5 minutes over time, and she's ready to deliver her keynote.
Absolutely, thank you.
I do apologize. I've had to jump
problem.
in.
Thank you, Alice.
Yes.
Everyone, please go to the handouts. All the information we just spoke about is right there for you. Alice, always a pleasure. And I look forward to back with you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.